pieces in it. This manual steering has to go. Front of this car has way too much grip, but it also has manual steering. So the manual steering has to go. Everything else has been modernized, you know, modern ECU, electric water pump, no more spark plug wires, it's, you know, the 1ZZ coils. So it's time for electric power steering on this damn car. Similar to what we have on the FC, so it's just time. It's terrible, like especially on track, it just feels so binded as you're trying to get into the right angle going into a corner. So it's been long overdue on this car, but it's time. Electric power steering. So we kind of just jumped the gun and started disassembling the OEM steering column. Not too bad on the 8.6. I mean, a few screws here and there to get the panel underneath. There's 4 bolts that hold the actual column to the dash, or the frame of the dash. Disconnected a couple of the wires that run signal, for example, like the starter switch. There's a plug that kind of runs the wiring to the rest of the car. Yeah, we're pretty dang close to getting ready to pull it out. The only thing I can see fighting us is the way the joint kind of slips into the other part of the shaft that's closer to the actual rack itself. Personally, I don't even remember when we did it. It was a long time ago, so we'll fight that battle probably in a few minutes. But right now, name of the game is taking off the steering column, pulling everything out. We also have a boot that goes against the firewall that's ripped. Luckily, I was able to source one on eBay, so we'll be replacing that with a different boot so I don't get all those hot fumes and hot air coming into my feet and cooking me when I'm driving. So, you know, we're fixing that while we're there. And other than that, it's pretty straightforward. I think the only other thing when it comes to installing the EPS will be the controller itself, figuring out where do we want to mount that. E-Powersteering kind of showed me where they mounted it. It's kind of down here against this frame. So I'll kind of investigate that as I get there. But overall, it's going pretty smoothly. Okay, so we're getting ready to assemble pretty much the electric power steering unit, but we came across, I'm not gonna say like a huge snag, but I kind of expected this. So for context, the 86 my 86 was power steering from the factory. Sorry, there's like a fly around. Power steering from the factory, and then we converted it to manual steering. Unfortunately, my brother doesn't recall where this joint came from, and also feeling this joint, it's pretty banged up. So what I decided to do was get the Mark III Supra kit from Technotoy Tuning, which provides a new joint and a double D rod so that you can connect it to pretty much a steering column. So that's what brought up this snag. So E-Powersteering provides this rod that goes on the back of the unit, right? It's splined, and unfortunately, it didn't match the Mark III Supra kit because there isn't a joint to connect this to the double D. So Ken at E-Powersteering provided me with a joint. I think it's Speed Manufacturing. I forget the name of it, but I'll put a link in the details of the video. So essentially, we're not using this anymore. It provides us with a joint. So there's a double D here and a splined end. So the splined end goes into the EPS unit. So sorry, I have like the jam nut in there, but essentially it slides over. We bolt it down, maybe a little blue Loctite, and it doesn't move. Then there's a double D side that fits our Mark III Supra double D rod. The only problem is it's off by a couple of thousandths, so I'm just gonna grind it down a little bit, and it should slide in here. We can somewhat mock assemble everything, and then here is a flat part with the splined end that goes into the joint provided from Technotoy Tuning, and then this bottom end is what connects to the manual steering rack we have in the car. So it was a lot of back and forth with Ken from E-Powersteering, but luckily I'm going through the issue now so that if somebody does decide to upgrade to a manual steering rack on the 86, the Mark III Supra, well, junk gears are kind of not really a thing anymore. So like finding a Mark III Supra double D joint's a little hard, or do you really want to buy some crusty one off eBay? I mean, to each their own. Luckily, I was able to buy the stuff from Technotoy, and now I will have a part number for future reference for anybody else who wants to do it. And Ken also knows the part number, so if anybody hits a snag, you can either hit up, the video and leave a comment. I'll answer it, or you can just hit up Ken at E-Powersteering, and he has a solution pretty much for everything. So really knowledgeable guy, super cool. Obviously, we have an EPS system on my FC. There was no issues with setting that up. But of course, the 86 likes to fight me. So we're going to grind this down, get it fitting on the double D side, put this on the EPS unit, and then assemble the steering column. We have a couple things we need to bring over from our old column. For example, the chamber for the key, and obviously the turn signal unit. Then we should be able to slide that shit into the car and then get going. And then we can actually wire it up. Close. Yeah. It's tight. Damn. I didn't even have to go that much, but that's good. So if you do get the Mark III intermediate shaft kit from Technotoy, and you do get this joint to be able to put it onto the EPS, you'll just have to shave it down. So it didn't take long, maybe like 5-6 minutes. It's kind of peaceful, to be honest with you. So we're good here. This part is going to go here. And then on the bottom side, we are going to put it on this flat side. And then this will connect to the steering, the rack. And then we can extend this as we need be. So we have adjustments. So we can go move this up, move this down. So we have a lot of adjustability to be able to set it up. Okay, so we ended up installing the key lock mechanism, the ignition. We had to disassemble the whole steering column a little bit where it connects to the actual electric power steering part, just because we needed to be able to move the shaft in so we can get this retainer clip. So we took care of that. We installed the key lock mechanism. So now we're going to put the EPS unit back on this spline back here, put a little bit of blue Loctite, make sure it's secure, and then bolt these back together. These are just some 10 millimeter flange nuts, and then we should be good to go. I should be able to actually screw the turn signal mechanism back on, which is pretty straightforward. It's a little dirty, but you know, it's also like 30 something years old. So yeah, we're making good progress, and then we will put the intermediate shaft on, and then I need to get a little creative in the sense where I have the boot for the firewall. So I ended up finding one on eBay. So I just need to slide the boot on, and then everything has to go in at once. And then once it's past the engine bay, we can take care of all that ourselves. We can slide the yoke forward and back. I mean, the joint forward and back is not a big deal. So we're close. And then just running some wires. So it's not going to be too problematic, and hopefully we'll be done. And one big thing off the checklist before we get ready for our track day in May. Okay, so we ran into another hiccup. So the first thing is the bracket on the steering column that allows the steering column to tilt up and down. That whole assembly was hitting our like new column boot on the firewall. So we had to cut that down so it wouldn't interfere, because that was not letting us feed the whole steering column forward. Next was with the MK3 shaft, the double D, it was too short, so it wasn't able to make it to the actual joint on the steering rack. So, you know, frustrated, we looked at everything and we said to ourselves, wait a second, let's see if the original provided rod that came with the electric power steering unit, so the intermediate shaft, let's see if it's long enough to make it to the steering rack, which it was. And then we did one more step to see if the new joint that was provided from Technotoy with the MK3 kit, if it slid onto that intermediate shaft, and of course it did. So essentially, I'm not sure if Technotoy sells the joint by itself. I don't think so anymore, but I mean, I'm sure if you were to email them, you could probably get one. So we used the MK3 Technotoy joint with the rod that was provided by Electric Powersteering. So now everything's fitted correctly. We just torqued everything down on the steering rack. We put a little bit of Loctite because that's one bolt or two bolts that I don't want ever coming out. So now we're gonna take off the driver's side wheel, feed the power and ground cable to the actual controller, and then we're hoping to be able to start the EPS system and be able to feel what electric power steering feels like on this car. And then we'll wrap things up after that.
Okay, so I'm recording this with my iPhone, but essentially we have some clearance issues. You see the little, I guess, counterweight on the throttle cable? It's hitting the unit. So I've marked it already, and pretty much I confirmed with Ken at E-Powersteering. We need to cut that little, I guess, round cylinder little piece, like a counterweight, I believe, on the actual throttle assembly. Cut it, and then it's going left to right now, so we need to cut it and weld it so that it goes top down, so that it clears the tubular piece of the electric power steering unit. So that's one thing I didn't know, so we're going to take care of that now. Too bad I don't have the DSLR to actually record this, but you know, the iPhone should be enough. So I already removed it. 2 bolts here. I'm going to take it to my buddy Danny down the street to get it welded, and we should be good to go. Okay, so as you can see, that little, I guess, cylinder tube, whatever you want to call it, we welded it to the right. It's pretty much like a counterweight. And then we bent the top side, so we pretty much had a torch and heated that shit up. And with the vise, we turned the hook outward. So essentially, I guess, turning it counterclockwise. You see the orientation there. But now we don't have any more interference. So I'll just have to reset the TPS, but now we have full throttle. Okay, initial thoughts. Just pulled it out of the driveway, and I have like almost no assist, dude. This is butter. God, this is so nice. And the fact that that joint's not broken anymore, the one connecting to the steering rack itself, it's like, oh God, it's a joy to drive. Now we're actually steering. Oh, it's actually predictable now. Since we did, you know, remove the quick release and the hub from another car, from another column. It was a little crooked, but that's the least of my worries, you know. Everything else is running really good. Yeah, I'm happy with this. Now it feels like a comfortable car to drive, and you know, mind you, there's time joints on the whole car. True coilovers in the rear, so like the car's really bouncy. God, it feels good because of the steering now. Alright, so we got the whole electric power steering installation complete. We took the car to TrueWorks to get an alignment. It was a little off, like the toe was off, so we needed to get that taken care of. We did run into a couple of hiccups with the whole installation process, but hopefully if you're watching this and you have an A6 and you're going to be doing this, we keep you from having to deal with bullshit. So for example, you know, the joint from Technotoy to connect it to the manual steering rack, we didn't need that D shaft. We ended up using the intermediate shaft that was provided from EPS. The only modification that we actually had to do was on the actual throttle pedal assembly. There's this counterweight. We had to cut it off, re-weld it, so it's instead of going from left to right, it went from top down. And then the little hook where the throttle cable connects to, normally it comes from the firewall back towards you. I had to kind of persuade it. So I heated it up and turned it a little bit on the vise so that when I step on the accelerator, it pulls a little bit outward. And the reason for that is the cylinder piece on top of the electric power steering unit, it gets in the way. So we needed to adjust it for that. Other than that, this is exactly what I wanted. Like right now, ignition on, just turns no problem. And mind you, this is at the minimum assist. And honestly, that's all I really needed. I didn't need crazy assist. I just needed power steering so that I can actually feel correctly how I want to turn the car in on a corner. But other than that, thanks for tuning in. And, if you have any questions, leave some comments or, like and subscribe. But peace out. It's hot as fuck.